Hi everybody, my name is Mona and I work at the JCC. And I'm here tonight to share with you something that I've been doing for the last few weeks each night, and that is sewing masks. You know, starting tomorrow, our governor has told us that everybody is going to be required to wear a mask when they go out in public, to the store, or wherever they're near people. Even though they're socially distancing, we're going to need to be wearing masks. So I decided that I was going to hand sew masks, even though I have a sewing machine, because the touching of the masks and the making of the masks and actually sewing masks keeps me from touching my face, which I'm really bad about, so that's another thing we're not supposed to do. So I'm sewing masks each night, and as I'm sewing them, I'm thinking of the person that I'm sewing them for, and we can't all be together, but we can think about the people that we're not with, and so it's giving me the opportunity to do that. The masks look like this. Very cute. This one's a little plain one. If you want to get a little fashion conscious so that you can match your outfits, you can pick different kinds of material. One of the things that we do have is quite a bit of material. People have been donating their material to the JCC, and I've got it there so we can get it out to any of you who'd like to create masks yourselves. I think we've got more material than we have mask makers right now, so hopefully you'll be inspired by my little video tonight to make a mask for someone that you love, make a mask for yourself, because certainly you should love and take care of yourself first and foremost so that you can take care of everybody around you. But I'm going to show you the pattern that I've been using. I found it online on YouTube, just like we're all doing these days. It's pretty simple. I've got all my materials right here, and we're going to get started. So what I'm going to do first is show you how I'm going to begin. And the first thing I do is decide who I'm going to make my mask for. So tonight my mask is for a friend whose wife informed me she does not have needle or thread in her entire house. So, I'm not judging. I love her to death, and she's got lots of talent, but no needle and thread? Oh my gosh. I've been sewing since I was a little tiny girl. My grandmother and my great-grandmother taught me to sew. And it boggles my mind that people don't have needle and thread, but I'm sure I boggle her mind in other ways of things that I don't have in my house. So I'm happy to make this for him. I know that he's been doing a lot of the grocery shopping for the family, so hopefully he'll have this and be able to use it when he goes out to grocery shop. So the first thing we're going to do is choose the fabric. So I'm going to go with the plain kind of denim blue that we've got here. And we're going to measure that out. So you're going to get your fabric, and you're going to measure 15 inches long and 8 inches wide. All right, any kind of a measuring tool that you have. I've got my kind of antique, ancient rolling measuring thing that my husband had. He's had this since before we were married, so I'm going to use this and measure my 15 inches this way. Okay, 12 plus 3. All right, and then we're going to measure 8 inches down, like this. Now, my grandmother would be able to do this without even measuring. She would just eye it and do it because she sewed for so long. And then, better make the bottom one or I'll mess up and won't get it straight. Okay, measure it like this. All right, then we're going to cut that. Measure twice, cut once. Somebody smart said that one time. All right, so then we're going to cut this like this. Okay. Yeah. And then this way. So while you're doing this, before you get started, you want to turn your iron on because you're going to need to do a little bit of pressing with this. So hopefully you have an iron. I'm not sure if my friend who doesn't have needle and thread has an iron. She probably does. But I'm going to go over here and just iron this out. So follow me over to my ironing station. All right, so we're just going to press it out so that we have a nice, even material to work with. All right, and there we go. There you have it. So the next step is you take your fabric like this. This is the hot dog way, and you're going to fold it in half. I think hamburger, hot dog. Oh, I get it wrong every time. Take your 15 inches and fold it in half like this. Okay. And you put it down like this, and you're going to, on this seam edge here, you're going to measure in 3 inches from either side, and you're going to sew along those 3 inches. And you're going to leave a gap in the middle. After you sew that, eventually that gap in the middle is going to be where you turn your fabric inside out. For those of you who have sewn before, you usually sew with your even side, so make sure when you do that, I didn't say it out loud, put your good side of your fabric together, and then you're going to sew on the back side. That way when you flip it out and you're all done, the pretty seams are inside and you have the nice side showing. Okay, so this is what I have here. I measured my little 3 inches here and 3 inches here, and I'm going to sew along each of those lines. So what I did before I started this video was I pre-threaded all of my needles. I got about 6 needles worth of thread here, and the reason I did that is because it takes me about 20 minutes to thread these things now. I'm not quite as young as I used to be, and I used to be able to thread these needles for my grandma when I was a little girl, and she used to ask me to thread them because she couldn't see the little holes very well. So when this is all over, I'm going to teach my grandkids how to thread my needles for me. So you just want to get started and follow along the little line. Start at the end here, and you're going to sew these 2 little pieces together. Make your little knot. Go all the way to the end of here, and then get my other threaded needle, and I'll do this little piece here, and then we'll get ready for the next step. Okay, so I've got the 2 pieces sewn, 3 inches this way, 3 inches that way, with the gap in the middle. So I'm going to go over to my pressing station now and get ready for the next step. As I'm doing this, I want to mention the types of material that you should be considering using when you're making your mask is a nice cotton, something with a good thread count, so that when you kind of hold it up to the light, you can't see light streaming through it. And this is going to be doubled, so that gives us that extra double. You don't want to use a material that's too dense or got any plastic on it or anything like that, because you need to be able to breathe through the mask. So a nice sturdy cotton, quilter's cotton, is a good idea. Some people are using sheets, like the 180, 250 thread count sheets. Those are good materials as well. So what I'm doing over here is, this is the seam I was working on. I'm going to take my material and fold it and move it this way so that the seam that I just sewed was in the center here. Okay, just like that. I'm going to put this down, and I'm going to press the seam open like this. This is the seam that I just sewed. Nice edges here. So I kind of opened that seam up and pressed it this way. This is the open space where eventually we're going to be pulling our material through, but right now this is what the fabric should look like. Okay, this side and this side. All right, come back over this way. Now the next step is we're going to attach the elastic that we're going to use. So I've done a couple of different masks. This was elastic that I had from an old camisole. I took the little straps off the camisole and used this. Same here. This was a kind of a little fancier, sparkly camisole I had. I took that apart. But most of the masks I've been making recently have these little teeny white, perfect little elastic sizes. Not hard on your ears. You don't have anything that's going to be too tough on your ears. And I actually am using masks that my daughter-in-law brought with her when she came here a couple of years ago from Japan. Some of you may know that my son lived in Japan for 10 years, married a beautiful woman, and they've moved back here to the States. And she brought some masks with her, so she's been kind enough to let me use the disposable masks and take the pieces off of those to turn into permanent masks that we have. So I've got the little, nicely measured, already perfect little straps on the end. So I'm going to snip those off, and that's what I'm going to use to make my permanent mask. Don't worry, she's got a lot of these boxes, so she's good. She was very kind to let me cut some of them up. So I'm going to snip these off here. There's one. The other side too. Okay. Put this over here because we will use this a little bit later. So I've got the 2 little straps here. What we're going to do is we're going to start on one end here, the top, and we're going to open this up a little bit. And what's going to happen is we want to sew this little elastic inside. So we're going to have one piece sewn on this side and one piece sewn on this side, but it's got to be on the inside, because remember I talked about flipping it out and turning it outside. So what's going to happen is it's going to go inside. I'm going to put one in here, right up against the seam that you pressed. It's going to go inside. There, and just have a little bit sticking out so that you don't lose it. And this is probably the toughest part, getting this thing in here. My husband and I were making masks this weekend together, and I think I did this part for him. He's got a little bit shaky fingers. But Okay, so it's inside there. I'm going to get ready to stitch this, and the rest of the piece is hanging down here. We're going to stitch this in so it doesn't come out, and stitch straight across here. And when we get to this side, I'm going to pull the other little piece of the elastic and sew it in there. So you've got this smiley face piece of elastic inside underneath the seam that you're sewing, okay? Because you don't want it to be on the outside. It needs to be on the inside for when you flip it out. So I'm going to grab another one of my pre-threaded needles here. Here we go. And I'm going to get this. The first thing you want to do is tack this elastic right along the edge inside here so that it doesn't come apart. There we go. And I'm going to do this like this. Okay. And for those of you who like to sew with a guide, with a line, which I kind of do sometimes, is I'll just make a quick, with a pencil, little, about a 1/2 inch seam on the inside here, just so I have a little straight line to follow. All right. So as I was saying before, I do have plenty of fabric at the JCC. I've been going in most days. I don't know if all of you know, but we have been serving meals to our seniors. We've been delivering them, not serving them at the J, but cooking them and delivering them to their homes. So our chef Jackie and our driver Dave are coming in each morning to cook and prep and call the seniors and let them know that we'll be on our way to deliver meals for them. And I've been going in every day kind of as the, hold the fort down kind of person, people calling, people needing to get in for whatever reason or not. We've had a couple people who left things in their lockers downstairs in the locker rooms who wanted to get access. Our facility staff is also at the J every day, and they're doing an amazing job, disinfecting, cleaning places that, are tough to clean when we're full of members, as we are most days. So anyway, the point is I've been at the J every day, usually between 9 and 5:30. So if you do want to pick up fabric, we've got some there. Just give a holler or send an email. We are, we don't have anybody at the desk taking answering calls, but we do have somebody checking the voice messages. So if you would like to have some fabric, just call, leave a message, and the people that are checking the messages every day, our membership staff, will get a hold of me, and I can coordinate with you to come pick up some fabric. And we've got some pretty colors, so if you've got some favorite colors or, something that you'd like. Some people are flashy, some people are kind of plain, whatever it is that will make you happy. But I will say, it really does, for me anyway, feel good to use my hands and make something, because I'll tell you, sometimes, especially these days, it's tough to work through a day, and you feel like you maybe don't have a lot of direction, and you're really not sure what's happening every day, and you get up and your day may not be the way you think it might be, and so it's nice to start a project, sew a project, finish a project. So it's kind of that nice concrete feeling to be able to do that. Okay, I'm just about to the end, so what I'm going to do is go and show you how I'm going to catch this other piece of elastic. All right, so I've sewn straight across, caught this piece in here, sewn straight across. So I'm going to reach up underneath here, because I haven't sewn that end yet, find the other end of my elastic, and bring it up through the hole I've got up here that I haven't sewn yet, and catch it on the other side. And this is the tricky part. Be a little bit of patience here, and make sure you leave yourself a big enough hole to grab it and catch it. All right, there it is. I'm going to catch it, bring it over, make sure I got it nice and flat inside, like a little smiley face. Catch it on this side. Okay. That's what my grandma used to say all the time. Ay, ay, ay. Bet you all your grandmas used to say that too. Or your bubbies, or your nanas, or your mimis. All right. So I've got it there, and I'm going to finish sewing across here. And once I finish that, I'm going to go to the other side, and I'm going to do the same thing and get this elastic on the inside. And when I'm done with that, I'll show you the next step. Okay, so I've got both of my pieces of elastic sewn onto the inside of my mask. They're both attached from here and attached from here. I'm making a smiley face down under, and here's the seam that I sewed across. So next step, we're going to go to that little gap that we left when we made did our first section, the little gap in the center. We're going to open that gap a little bit and we're going to pull the material inside out. So you open the gap, let me just show you again, open the gap and reach inside, and we're going to turn this inside out. And then the right sides will be showing. Okay. And pull that there, and as we do this, you'll see the straps are now on the outside. That's why we had to make sure we sewed them as a smiley face under the seam. So as we turn this inside out, now we have, and there's a little gap, and all the seams are nicely sewed and hidden on the inside and finished off. Okay, so this is where we're going to start now, the next step of the mask, because, you know, this is kind of out of the way. We're going to go from this square down to this piece, which you can see has these like little accordion folds in them. So this is another part. We have to go over to our pressing station. We're going to press these folds into this bigger square and make it into a rectangle with all these folds in it. And after we make the pressing, we're going to sew here and here to hold those folds in. And that way when we put the mask on, I'll show you what it's going to look like when we do that. It'll accordion down. See? So that's the effect that we're going. We're going from this to these folds. So follow me over here to the pressing station. Okay, I'm going to press this out. All right. Like this. I love the sound of the steam that comes out of the iron. My brother shared with me a news clip from when I was in high school. I worked at a fashion manufacturer right next door to my house in Pennsylvania when I was in high school, called Mary's Fashions. That was in Bath, Pennsylvania. And he sent me a clip that they had turned their whole dress factory into a place that's making masks right now. And they showed pictures, and it brought back such memories of when I worked there in high school. It was right next to my house, so it was nice. I didn't have to travel far. And of course, as I told you before, I love to sew. And I did a lot of pressing there, and I just love, it brings back memories, the sound of the steam coming out of the iron. So what I've done first is I pressed it all out, and then I laid it in half, and I folded two pieces like this. So I've come in from the sides, folded into the half, like that. Press those down tight. Listen to the steam. It's nice and relaxing. All right, and then I'm going to fold that in half again. Okay, just like that. And I'm going to press these seams because they're going to give me guides for when I make the folds. Okay. All right. So now you can kind of see all the different little folds that I have in the fabric. All right. So I'm going to work with, make sure this little hole that you have, that you pulled your material through, that's going to be on the back. You're going to work on the back. So lay this flat like this. You're going to follow your folds. Move this out of the way. And you're going to fold this little one down just a little bit, maybe about 1/4 of an inch, and press it. Then you're going to take the next fold and meet the top of that fold and press that. And you're going to take this last seam and meet the top of the last fold and press that. Okay, nice, make nice presses. Okay, so now we have all the folds in place. Okay, that's kind of what it looks like accordion-wise. We're gonna, get a malfunction here. Let me press this little crease out. All right. All right, and we're gonna go back over to the pre-threaded needles for the last step of the mask making. All right, so once you've got your folds, you're going to take your next pre-threaded needle and you're going to sew about maybe a 1/2 inch in across all of these folds on this side. Then you'll take your next thread and sew across all of the folds on this side. You want to do it double, so you're going to go right along the edge, tip of the edge, and then in about a ½ inch. That way you've got two good lines holding these folds in place so that they'll come out nice and flat, just like this. All right, some people like to use their pins. You can pin them in place. I've got my antique pin holder from my grandma, so you can pin your folds like this before you start to sew across there to hold those folds in place. Or if your hand is big enough and you're used to it, you can just hold it and sew it along. But that is how we end up with the final project, this mask again. So I'm so glad that you watched with me. I'm so glad I was able to share with you and talk with you about making the mask and how it makes me feel good to do things with my hands and to do something for someone else who I can think about even though I can't really be with them, and drop these off at their porch so they can pick them up and, you know, we can social distance and do some porch dropping of some things. But I really do want to encourage you, if you have the desire to do some sewing, to give me a call, and like I said, I can get some fabric to you. Or if you have your own fabric, that's fine. Just, you know, there are so many matches to be made. People who want to sew, people who need a mask. So, you know, let's try to make those matches happen. So what I'm going to do at the end of this video, I'm going to have somebody who's way smarter than me about making videos attach the clip that I saw on YouTube to make this mask. And the reason I want to attach that clip is the person who did the video zoomed in on her hand so you can really see close up the things that I was just doing kind of far away, talking to you and showing you what I'm doing, but she'll zoom in and you'll be able to see them. So if you really want to get a good zoom in, check out the clip at the very end. And have a great night. Thank you for spending your time with me, and hope to see you all really soon.